All right, so today after market close, NVDA, the biggest chip maker, has finally reported their earnings. And of course, as expected, it did beat the expectation, both EPS and both revenue. So they beat the EPS by 8%. So you can see 81 cents per share, consensus 75, revenue 3.35.1 billion, consensus 33. So by 2 billion they beat the revenue, and they guided up slightly for Q4, and implied volatility crush. Did we talk about last time when I was talking about this one? I'm pretty sure, but how could you have predicted just by looking at the option activity today and what I think is going to happen from here? Again, these videos purely for educational purposes only, not a financial advice to buy, sell, or hold any security. So after market close, you can see this stock has moved only $2, not a whole lot. If you take a look at the implied volatility, it was implying that the stock could have moved by the end of this week, which is Friday, $13 plus or minus, up or down. And last time I talked about this one, I showed you guys identical IV, and it did remain high even though some days passed by. I think before the weekend we talked about this one, and comparison was last NVIDIA's earnings report, where this stock was hovering around the resistance of 130. This is, again, these are 4-hourly charts, so it represents, each candle represents basically 4 hours. So 2 candle is 1 day. You can see what it did in a matter of, like, last time when they reported earnings, 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 trading sessions, does absolutely nothing but sits at the resistance. Come earnings, it reports earnings, next morning opens only slightly down. If we just actually even opens flat-ish, doesn't do much. Let's go back a little bit further. I want to go zoom out a little bit and show you guys days when they reported. So it was Wednesday, typical, they do it typically, large cap stocks, either Tuesday or Thursday they report, even Apple, Microsoft, all those names. But anyhow, Thursday price action, you can see it doesn't move much. Friday price action doesn't move much, burns any premium that was bought and sold, and then come next Monday it starts moving, and it flushed all the way to Monday alone, slight a bit of a gap down, and then moved about like 9% or so. And that week, by the end of Friday, stock moved down 13%, and then it came right back up following week, and identical price action situation. Of course, we had this little bit of a sell-off right here, and then you can see this 150 area was acting as a resistance, which it couldn't get back above for about the same amount of days. Okay, and by looking at today's option activity, you could have predicted it pretty easy. If you take a look at the option stats, you can see the put to call ratio: 2.2 million calls traded, 1.5 million puts traded. If you take a look at this stat right here, traded at the bid or below, traded at the ask or above, between the market. Look at these: 785,000, 733, 755, 33% at the bid, 32% at the ask, 33% between the market. Puts, 35% at the bid, 36% at the ask, 27% between the market. And if you take a look at lower delta, you can see both call traders and put traders, they were not interested to trade as much anything with delta of 60 to 1, both on the call side and the put side, which means all these 0 to all the way to 60, that's where the majority, 95% of the volume, both on the put side and the call side traded, they were selling these premiums, call and put. What are those 0 to, I mean, you can just, if you're not familiar with the deltas, you can take a look, like anything from 140, or is it 60? Okay, so anything from here, basically whatever the stock was trading, sitting above was above 60 delta. It had anything deep in the money, of course, for the calls, were these numbers closer to, I mean, above 60 delta. But you get the point, like people were trading mostly outside of the money puts and calls because they knew that the surprise, I mean, they would beat the earnings, but it wouldn't be by a large margin, and it would not be enough to move the stock get going both either to the upside or downside. And exactly what it did off the earnings, and we know that this stock is a large cap stock. It is not a small stock. It is what's the market cap? 3.4, 3.7, where is it right now? $3.57 trillion stock, okay? And even this 2%, I mean, it's a very large move in terms of capitalization. But coming into earnings, option market, that's how it plays you. IV, they jack up the IV, they sell. If you're a naked buyer, naked call buyer, or naked put buyer tomorrow, you will be, if you had something in the money, closer to the money, you will be lucky if it opens 1-to-1, or even if it can go down 90% if it's slightly outside of whatever the market was expecting and versus how much it moved. It barely even moved its average to range, which is $4.77. So, okay, we're not going to rumble too much about that. We'll see what happens tomorrow. What are the levels I'm watching? So can it get going tomorrow? Can it try to push tomorrow and reject that 50? Absolutely. Can it try to go a little bit lower or even sell off? Absolutely. I'll be watching 140 as a resistance, 150 as a support. I think it can sit in this range tomorrow, the day after tomorrow, but next week it can just come down, or even this week it can come down to 50-day moving average of 135. That's my basically the levels that I will be watching for Nvidia going forward. Can it get going? If it gets back above 150, absolutely. Stock is sitting not too far away from its all-time highs. It depends. It is very options-driven stock, considering that so much premium was exchanged hands even going into this earnings for the last 3, 4, 5, all these days where market was even pinned. If you take a look at the SPY, everybody was anticipating and waiting and trading that stock, and now that event is out of the way, and now we'll see what the premium action is going to be tomorrow, and see where the basically option market will be betting on. Or will there be clear path or clear strikes that people will be basically attacking to take the stock upper or lower? We will see what happens, but that's my expectation. I think it will be pinned. It will kill the premium for the rest of the week, and next week is short week as well. And again, next week's premiums could be killed as well. It could just chop around, stay in the range, and then maybe get going closer to the Christmas, because now we have pretty large expiration. I mean, large option expiration is out of the way. It killed a lot of premium from OPEX to OPEX, and now next big monthly OPEX is going to be December 20th, I believe. December 20th. And then after that, maybe we will see it get going, or maybe before that. But my point here is, for this Friday and upcoming Friday, you can see Nvidia stay between this 135 and 150. If it breaks, definitely we'll cover it again and talk about the potential levels to watch for. But so far, IV crush. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.